They had it all. Bodies pushed to the edge of perfection. Physiques that made history. Some of them even won the Olympia, but in certain years, they were straight up robbed. Yeah, today we're diving into the biggest injustices in bodybuilding. Athletes who lit up the stage, only to see the trophy slip away because of controversial calls. And it wasn't just about the physique. There was politics, favoritism, backstage influence. In a bunch of those competitions, what we saw on stage just didn't match the final results. And that left some deep scars in the sport. There are guys who should have taken a win, and others who maybe didn't deserve it all that much. Get ready to relive some moments that still fire up fans to this day. Close battles, explosive reactions, and decisions that changed entire careers. Stick around till the end, because the last story? A lot of people call it the biggest controversy ever at Mr. Olympia. A decision that still doesn't sit right with anyone, and might just change how you see the sport. This video is a must-watch. Let's go. Kicking off our list, we have to talk about Flex Wheeler. No doubt, one of the greatest bodybuilders to never win the Mr. Olympia. His physique was mind-blowing. Perfect symmetry, almost unreal proportions, and a look that many still call sculptural. He wasn't just strong, he was aesthetically flawless, which made him stand out on any stage. Even surrounded by monsters, all eyes were on Flex. But with all that going for him, why didn't he ever take home the big title? Most people point to 1993 as the year Flex should have won. That year, he showed up with an insane physique, balanced, full, shredded, and with a stage presence that was just on another level. But the title went to Dorian Yates, who was already the reigning champ, and who stepped on stage injured. That sparked a debate that's still going strong today. I mean, was that really fair? Dorian showed up with a clear biceps injury that threw off the symmetry of his physique. Even so, the judges stuck with the usual criteria: extreme size and muscle density, which obviously worked in Dorian's favor. Flex, with a flawless presentation, ended up in second place. That raised a big question. Should aesthetics count more in the final decision? Do you think bodybuilding has lost a bit of its artistic side by putting so much focus on size? Flex embodied the perfect blend of strength and beauty, something a lot of fans feel is missing in today's competitions. Looking back, it's hard not to wonder how things might have changed if he had won that year. Would the whole direction of the sport be different? On top of all that, Flex Wheeler is still remembered as one of the greatest posers of all time. He didn't just flex, he told a story with his body. His posing was smooth, elegant, and full of emotion, something you rarely see on stage today. Even without a Mr. Olympia title, Flex inspired a whole generation of athletes and left a mark that goes way beyond trophies. His legacy lives on in the sport and in the hearts of fans around the world. Just goes to show, recognition doesn't always need to come with a title. Now, let me know in the comments, do you think he deserved the win? Kevin Levrone is one of the best examples of raw talent in bodybuilding. The guy had it all: size, definition, proportions, charisma, and insane stage presence. Throughout his career, he placed second at Mr. Olympia 4 times, which shows how consistently he was at the top. But somehow, the ultimate title never came. And that raises the question, how? One of the most talked about moments was in 2000. Levrone came in looking insane, dense, symmetrical, and super conditioned. But the win went to Ronnie Coleman, who was already ruling the era with his freakish size. A lot of people believe Kevin brought a more balanced physique that year and should have taken the title. Have you ever seen that side-by-side comparison? Levrone was famous for his ability to transform in just a few months. He could go from full off-season mode to stage-ready in what felt like no time. That made him a legit genetic freak. Even other pros were amazed. But maybe that unpredictability worked against him when it came to consistency. And let's be real, judges love consistency. On top of that, Kevin was one of the best posers of his era. He knew exactly how to highlight his strengths and hide any weak points like a pro. His routines were smooth, theatrical, and emotionally charged. You could actually feel a connection. Do you think charisma and stage presence should carry more weight in the judging? Even without an Olympia title, Kevin built a legendary career. He's respected worldwide and still going strong, inspiring tons of athletes. His comeback in 2016, at over 50 years old, proved that his love for the sport goes way beyond trophies. And seriously, who else does that with so much heart? Some people say Kevin Levrone is the greatest bodybuilder to never win a Mr. Olympia. What do you think? Was he robbed? Or was he just unlucky to compete during a time ruled by freaks like Ronnie Coleman? Shawn Ray is one of those guys who was always in the mix, but never quite hit the top. For over a decade, he stayed among the top finalists at Mr. Olympia, consistently bringing insane physiques to the stage. We're talking symmetry, definition, and muscle balance dialed into perfection. Still, he never took home the Sando. And honestly, that still doesn't sit right with a lot of people. The most controversial year of his career, 1994, when he went head-to-head with Dorian Yates once again at the Olympia. Shawn came in flawless, dry, shredded, clean lines, and total stage control. Dorian, though bigger, had some noticeable flaws, including an injury. Yet, he walked away with the win. So, did size over everything weigh too heavily that year? A lot of fans see Shawn as the definition of classic bodybuilding: proportion, aesthetics, and detail. He wasn't trying to be the biggest on stage. He aimed to be the most complete. That brings up a legit debate. What should matter more, sheer mass or aesthetic perfection? What catches your eye more in a competitive physique? Shawn also stood out for how consistent he was year after year. In a sport full of ups and downs, he kept showing up at the highest level season after season. That kind of longevity is rare and deserves way more credit than it usually gets. Do you think the judges underrated how much that consistency really meant? And his posing? Clean, precise, super technical. Every move was deliberate, highlighting his physique in the best possible way. He knew how to lock in attention from both the crowd and the judges. Nowadays, with all the flashy routines, maybe that kind of technical polish is getting lost. Do you miss that in today's shows? Even without a Mr. Olympia title, Shawn Ray is still one of the most respected athletes in the sport. He's a go-to name, especially for fans who love that classic, aesthetic look. His name comes up in pretty much every conversation about the greatest to never win. What about you? Would you put him on your most robbed list? Rich Gaspari was a true game changer in 1980s bodybuilding. He was the first guy to step on stage with a level of muscle definition no one had ever seen before. The cuts, the separation, the insane detail. He shocked both the crowd and the judges. He wasn't the biggest guy, but he brought something totally new to the table. And it changed the sport forever. From 1986 to 1988, Gaspari placed second at Mr. Olympia 3 years in a row, always just one step away from the top. He kept coming in right behind none other than Lee Haney, one of the all-time greats. But even with a dominant champ like Haney on stage, a lot of people still felt like Rich deserved the win at least once. What do you think? Was he unfairly overshadowed? What set Gaspari apart was his insane conditioning. He came in with paper-thin skin, freaky vascularity, and deep, detailed cuts everywhere. He's the guy who started the whole obsession with definition that's now the standard in top-tier competitions. Honestly, without Rich, would bodybuilding even look the way it does today? But back then, the judges still leaned heavily towards size and classic structure. So even with his groundbreaking look, Rich kept getting pushed to the runner-up spot. That resistance to change might have cost him the title he deserved. Gaspari also had a strong presence on stage. He posed with confidence, hit every stance with intention, and made sure his hard work showed. His deeply carved abs and freakishly separated legs became his trademark. You couldn't ignore him when he walked out. Even without the big win, Rich Gaspari became a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame, and his influence is still felt today. He went on to build a massive supplement brand and become a successful entrepreneur. Proof that a legacy can be way bigger than a trophy. So tell me, what do you think matters more, winning or leaving a mark that changes the game forever? Kai Greene is hands down one of the most unique bodybuilders the sport has ever seen. With a jaw-dropping physique, loads of charisma, and a one-of-a-kind performance style, he built a massive fan base around the world. Even with all that impact, he never won the Mr. Olympia, finishing as runner-up 3 times. His battles with Phil Heath, especially in 2012 and 2014, are still hot topics today. In 2012, it was tight. Kai came in with crazy muscle density, unreal size, and razor-sharp conditioning. Phil Heath, on the other hand, had that polished, complete look, smoother lines, and a more classic structure. A lot of people thought Kai brought more wow factor that night, but the judges kept the crown with Phil. Then came 2014, and things got even more intense. Kai brought not just the physique, but raw emotion and insane stage presence. The rivalry between him and Phil got personal, with real tension and even some trash talk on stage during the final. When the results came out, Phil won again. But to this day, tons of fans believe 2014 should have been Kai's year. Do you think the offstage drama played a role in the final decision? What made Kai Greene different wasn't just his body, it was how he moved. Every pose felt like a piece of art. His routines were fluid, creative, emotional, like he was telling a story with his physique. It created a deep connection with the crowd. Should modern bodybuilding put more value on that kind of expression? Kai was also far from your typical champion. Coming from humble beginnings, with a story of struggle and perseverance, he became a symbol of inspiration, way beyond the sport itself. Even without a title, he turned into a cultural icon. Movies, comics, social media, his presence is everywhere. That proves your impact doesn't have to come with a gold medal. Would you agree he's one of the sport's biggest icons? Whenever people talk about the most robbed athletes in Olympia history, Kai's name always comes up, and he's never fully ruled out a comeback, even though the years are flying by. So what do you think? Is there still time to see this beast on stage one more time? Victor Martinez is one of those names that always pops up when we talk about legends who almost won the Mr. Olympia. In 2007, he placed second behind Jay Cutler. But for a lot of people, he was the real champ that year. His physique had it all: size, definition, symmetry, and flawless conditioning. The kind of package that wins over both judges and fans. But somehow, it still wasn't enough. That showdown with Jay was so close, it split opinions even within the bodybuilding world itself. Jay, the reigning champ, came in big as always, but his conditioning was a bit off. Victor, on the other hand, was peaking, tighter midsection, sharper legs, and a super polished look overall. If the judging leaned toward aesthetics and overall shape, Victor had a serious edge. What makes this moment so memorable is how far Victor had come in the years leading up to 2007. He'd been through ups and downs, but that year, everything clicked. Physique, presentation, confidence. It was the high point of his career. And yet, the final call kept Jay on top. Makes you wonder, did being the defending champ in 2006 give Jay an unfair advantage? Victor was known for his dense frame, round muscle bellies, and an incredibly balanced look. He had that blend of mass and beauty, not just freaky size, but something aesthetically pleasing too. In a sport where looks matter, that kind of balance should count for something. After that controversial loss, Victor faced a rough road. Injuries, personal struggles, even legal issues. It all took a toll on his career in the years that followed. But through it all, he stayed respected and admired, living proof that one scoreboard loss doesn't erase the shine of a true champion. You feel the same? To this day, 2007 is remembered as one of the most debated Mr. Olympia results ever. Some still call it Victor's stolen year. And even without the trophy, he earned the love and respect of countless fans thanks to his journey and dedication. You ever wonder, Would he have taken the crown if he'd competed in a different era? Before becoming a four-time champion, Jay Cutler went through one of the most controversial decisions in Mr. Olympia history. In 2001, he showed up with a physique that shocked everyone. Dry, symmetrical, packed with size, and just the right amount of detail. A lot of experts say that was the best version of Jay we'd seen up to that point. And believe it or not, he didn't win. The title went to Ronnie Coleman again. At that time, Ronnie was already a living legend, with 4 Olympia titles in a row. But in 2001, he wasn't quite as sharp as he'd been in previous years. Jay, on the other hand, was absolutely dialed in. Deep cuts, perfect balance, and a stage presence that screamed champion. The difference was clear. So it makes you wonder, if judging was strictly based on who's best that day, would history have taken a different turn? Truth is, a lot of people believe Ronnie's name carried weight in that decision. When someone dominates for so long, judges tend to get comfortable, like there's a default winner. But the stage should be about earning the win, right? Jay came in ready and delivered a performance that deserved the crown. The loss was tough, but Jay didn't back down. He kept grinding, kept improving, and kept showing up better every year. And in 2006, he finally got his moment, dethroning Ronnie in one of the most iconic upsets in bodybuilding history. But that question still lingers. Should 2001 have been the true beginning of Jay's reign? This whole story raises a bigger question. Should a champ's invincibility aura influence judging that much? Or should decisions be more technical and objective? Even if that means taking the title from a legend, Jay had the physique, the prep, and the mindset to be champ back then. Do you agree? Even with the loss, 2001 was a turning point in Jay Cutler's career. He showed the world that Ronnie Coleman could be challenged, something almost nobody believed at the time. And that moment alone took his popularity and respect in the sport to another level. Phil Heath ruled the Mr. Olympia stage for 7 straight years, from 2011 to 2017. With his full, round, symmetrical, and insanely detailed physique, he looked unbeatable. But everything changed in 2018. Phil stepped on stage after having abdominal surgery, and many believe it affected his overall presentation. Still, a lot of fans argue he was still better than the guy who took the title that year. Shawn Rhoden's win came as a surprise to many. He brought a super aesthetic physique, tight waist, beautiful lines, and clean flow. The big difference? His midsection. While Shawn kept his abs tight and under control, Phil struggled to hold his stomach in, something the judges and fans criticize hard. But here's the big question. Was that enough to take down a 7-time champ? That's where the controversy kicks in. Even with the abdominal issue, Phil still had superior size, density, and muscle separation. In a lot of poses, he was clearly the most impressive guy up there. The truth is, after 7 years of the same winner, people were ready for a change. And that brings up an interesting question. Did part of the decision come from Phil fatigue? Were the judges, even unconsciously, looking to pass the torch? If another athlete had shown up with Phil's exact same physique, would the result have been different? Phil was always known for his confidence, or what some called arrogance, and that definitely split opinions. While many admired his dominance and technical precision, others were rooting for anyone who could take him down. In 2018, the humble underdog beats the king narrative hit hard. Do you think an athlete's personality actually plays into the final call? Regardless of that loss, Phil Heath is still one of the greatest of all time. 7 Olympia titles? That's elite territory. His physique set a bar that's incredibly tough to match. In interviews, he's made it clear he still believes he won in 2018. So now it's your turn. Who really won that night? Was it Phil Heath, the dominant veteran with unmatched muscle, or Shawn Rhoden, the new face of classic aesthetics? Now let's talk about a different kind of case. A champion who won, but many believe he didn't deserve it. In 1980, Arnold Schwarzenegger made a surprise return to the stage after 5 years of retirement and won the Mr. Olympia once again. But that victory sparked one of the biggest controversies in bodybuilding history. Truth is, he wasn't anywhere near the level he had been in his prime, and the rest of the lineup was on fire. Arnold showed up with less size, softer conditioning, and a physique that was clearly a step down for what fans had seen in previous years. Meanwhile, guys like Mike Mincer and Chris Dickerson came in dialed in, sharp, and ready to battle. Still, the title went to Arnold, and even now a lot of people call that a straight-up injustice. Mike Mincer, in particular, was in peak form, ripped, symmetrical, and packed with dense muscle. Many analysts had him as the clear favorite going into the show. The decision hit him so hard that he never competed in Mr. Olympia again. Chris Dickerson, who would go on to win the title later, also brought a stronger package than Arnold that night, but it didn't matter. What made the whole situation even sketchier was Arnold's huge influence behind the scenes. By then, he was already a rising movie star and one of the sport's biggest icons. There were serious questions about his relationship with the judges. Did the name carry more weight than the physique? And here's the million-dollar question. Can charisma and fame beat muscle? The 1980 Olympia was such a mess that several athletes boycotted the competition the following year. It became a symbol of protest, especially among competitors who felt disrespected and overlooked. To this day, many call Arnold's 1980 one of the most controversial in Mr. Olympia history. Do you agree? Even with that stain on his record, Arnold remains the biggest legend the sport has ever known. His legacy goes way beyond trophies. He helped turn bodybuilding into a global phenomenon. But this whole episode shows that sometimes what happens on stage doesn't match what the crowd or the experts see. Do you think the sport has evolved since then? Labrada was one of the most elegant and technical bodybuilders to ever step on the Mr. Olympia stage. Even though he never won the title, he was always right there with the best during his entire career. Through the late 80s and early 90s, he was a constant threat in the top 5, challenging mass monsters with his razor-sharp conditioning and flawless proportions. He wasn't the biggest guy on stage, but he knew exactly how to stand out. And honestly, that alone is a major accomplishment. His closest shots at the title came in 1989 and 1990, when he finished as runner-up. In 1990, he nearly took down Lee Haney, the reigning king of Olympia at the time. It was a tight battle. Labrada came in with perfect symmetry, deep cuts, and amazing of control. A lot of people felt he should have walked away with the Sando that year. Have you ever seen that routine? It was pure precision. What made Lee Labrada so impressive was his ability to look bigger than he actually was. At around 5 feet 5 inches, 1.65 meters, he used smart posing and strategic angles to maximize his presence. Every pose was deliberate, polished, and performed with surgical precision. The man was a true artist on stage. Even without an Olympia title, Lee made a massive impact on the sport. He became a benchmark for aesthetics, a source of inspiration for both classic and modern athletes, and his name still commands respect today. Tons of coaches still pull out Labrada photos when teaching ideal proportions. That just proves impact goes way beyond trophies, don't you think? Outside of competing, Lee also crushed it as a businessman and as a father. His son, Hunter Labrada, followed in his footsteps and now competes in the open class, proudly carrying on the family legacy. It's rare and honestly pretty special to see that kind of generational continuity in bodybuilding. Lee Labrada's story proves that bodybuilding isn't just about size. It's also about balance, technique, and honoring the physique. In an era obsessed with mass, he stood his ground as an aesthetic warrior. And even without the title, a lot of people still rank him among the all-time greats. What about you? Would you put him on your GOAT list? In 1997, the Mr. Olympia stage became the scene of one of the most controversial calls in bodybuilding history. Nasser El Sonbaty, known as the Professor, came in with an absolutely insane physique. Dense muscle, razor-sharp conditioning, impressive size, and a commanding presence. That night, he faced off against reigning champ Dorian Yates, who, despite his legacy and 6 straight titles, clearly wasn't at his best. What followed is a decision that still splits the bodybuilding world to this day. Dorian was already a 6-time Mr. Olympia, a British machine with a reputation for total domination. But in '97, he stepped on stage visibly injured, with obvious issues in his triceps and lower back. Those flaws directly impacted key poses, and for many, they were enough to say he shouldn't have kept the crown. Nasser, on the other hand, was firing on all cylinders, especially in the front shots like front double biceps and front lat spread. To most people watching, he looked like the clear winner. What shocked fans the most was the pose-by-pose breakdown. Nasser looked to beat Dorian in the majority of the direct comparisons. From the front, it wasn't even close. Nasser's symmetry, density, and overall aesthetic dominated. Even from the side, he held his own. The only area where Dorian arguably had the edge was his back. But with the injury, that edge was definitely dulled. So how did he still win? The most common explanation? The infamous total package argument, meaning the judges considered not just what they saw on stage that night, but also the athlete's history, dominance, and reputation. In other words, it felt like they weren't just judging the physique, but who brought it. And that opens the door to the big question. Is that fair? Shouldn't a competition reward the best of the night, no matter how many titles someone already has? Nasser brought everything the sport asks for: size, detail, proportion, and presence. But he wasn't just muscle. He was intelligent, articulate, and disciplined. Fluent in multiple languages, academically educated, and deeply dedicated, he embodied what a complete athlete should be. And maybe that's why losing in '97 hurt so much. That was his moment, his peak, and it slipped away. The loss didn't just hit Nasser, it hit the entire bodybuilding community. For many fans, that night made it painfully clear that the Olympia stage isn't always fair. The backlash was so intense that people still talk about it today. You'll find videos, breakdowns, comparisons, all trying to make sense of what went down that night. So let's hear it. Do you think Nasser El Sonbaty was robbed in 1997? Or did Dorian Yates' legacy and experience justify one last title? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is one of those stories that refuses to fade. After diving into so many unforgettable moments, razor-thin battles, and decisions that still spark heated debates, one big question hangs in the air. Which of these athletes really deserved to win the Mr. Olympia? Was it Flex Wheeler in '93, Levrone in 2000, Nasser in '97? Or maybe it was someone else who left a mark in your memory? If you're truly into bodybuilding, you know this sport goes way beyond trophies. It's about dedication, sacrifice, pushing limits, and yeah, sometimes about unfair calls. That's why I want to hear your take. What do you think was the biggest injustice in Olympia history? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button to support the channel. It seriously helps the content reach more people. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a new drop. Every week we bring stories that'll surprise you, from the stage, the backstage, or the real lives of these athletes. Oh, and if you're vibing with this topic, there's another video on the channel you have to check out. It's right here in the card and also linked in the description. Click on it when you're done here and keep going with us on this journey through the world of bodybuilding. Thanks for watching all the way. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.